Namaskar. From last video, we are studying the Nashta Jatakadhyaya. Nashta Jatakadhyaya helps us to build a horoscope of a person who doesn't know his birth details. In the last video, we learnt about identifying the ayana of the native. And in this video, in this stanza, we are going to learn how to identify the Jupiter and the season at birth. So let's start. This stanza is to be pronounced like this. Lagnatrikodeshu guru tribhagair vikalpya varshani vayonumanat grishmorkalagne kathitastu sheshair anyayanartavruturarkacharat. Now let's look at the meaning. I'm sure you are used to this particular rhythm by now. This is Indra Vajra meter. So the meaning is based on the Dreshkana of the ascendant. Jupiter will be in trine and the age of the native shall be based on the judgment of the astrologer. If the sun is in the ascendant, then say that the birth was in Grishma season. The remaining seasons shall be determined accordingly. If the ayana does not correspond with the season shall be determined as per the transit of the sun. This looks a little cryptic stanza, and that's why the commentaries would help us to understand this a little better. Before that, let's go to the padas. This stanza is very easy to understand. Now let's see what is the meaning of each pada. Lagna means ascendant, Trikoneshu, the trines, 5th and 9th. Guruhu, Jupiter, Tribhagair, 3 parts. Vikalpya means imagine. Varshani, years. Vayo, age. Anumanat, just. Grishmo, the Grishma season. Arka means the sun. Lagne, ascendant. Kathitast means tell. Sheshair means remaining. Anya means other. Ayana means the movement. Ruto means the season. Rutu again means the season. And Arkacharat means the transit or movement of the sun. Now let's look at the meaning of this particular stanza and go into the details. So how to identify the sign of the Jupiter? It is based on the Dreshkana of the ascendant. If the ascendant is in the first Dreshkana, then the sign of Jupiter would be the sign of the ascendant. If the ascendant is in the second Dreshkana, then the sign of Jupiter would be the sign in the 5th house. If the ascendant is in the third Dreshkana, then the sign of the Jupiter would be the sign in the 9th house. This is what it says at a very high level. Again, like we learned, the age shall be adjusted accordingly. The age shall be judged and then the sign of the Jupiter shall be adjusted accordingly. The other thing that it suggests, the commentary suggests, is according to the nature of the native and based on important life events of the native, the age or the sign of the Jupiter shall be judged. That is what the first part refers to. Now there is another view of commentators which is also very helpful when there is a little bit of confusion whether the person, what would be the age of the person, whether the person falls into the second cycle or the third cycle or the fourth cycle. What is the meaning of the cycle? Jupiter takes approximately 12 years to transit through all the signs. So the first cycle ends at the age of 12, around the age of 12, just a little lesser than 12 years. And then the second cycle would approximately end around the age of 24 and so on so forth. So in case there is a little bit of confusion whether the person is in the second cycle or the third cycle because his or her age is around 24 years, then this particular method is useful. What does it say? It says if the native touches the feet or ankle, then he would be in the first cycle. It means the age would be less than 12 years. If the native touches the knees or shank, then he or she would be in the second cycle, that is from 12 years to 24 years. Then if it is thighs or genitals, then the native would be in the third cycle, which is from 24 to 36. So based on the body part touched by the native, if at all there is a confusion, that can be easily eliminated, because based on the body part touched by the native, we can take the help of this particular method and strengthen our judgment based on the looks of the native. There are a few more views which are presented by the commentators. The other view is the age of the person shall be determined by counting the position of Jupiter from first, fifth or ninth house according to the Dreshkana of the ascendant. So what does that mean? If the Dreshkana of the ascendant is first Dreshkana, then the position of Jupiter in the Prashna chart shall be counted from first house. If the position, the Dreshkana of the ascendant is second Dreshkana, then count it from fifth house. And if it is in the third Dreshkana, then count it from ninth house. And when we count that, the count becomes the sign of Jupiter. So for example, Jupiter say is in the 10th house and ascendant is in the second Dreshkana. So 10th house is 6th from the 5th house. Because the ascendant is in the second Dreshkana, we would count from 5th house. And 10th house is 6th from the 5th house. So the Jupiter shall be in Virgo sign. This is how we can identify the sign of the Jupiter. There is another commentary which helps us to identify the position of Jupiter in the natal chart or the native chart. What does it say? Based on the Dwadashansha of the ascendant, we can identify the position of Jupiter. And it's very simple. If the ascendant is in the first Dwadashansha, Jupiter will be in the first house. If the ascendant is in 10th Dwadashansha, then the Jupiter shall be in the 10th house. This is the other rule that is suggested by one of the commentators in his commentary. Now let's look at the seasons. How do we determine the season at birth? Now the stanza says the season shall be determined based on the planet in the ascendant. Okay. So this particular table refers to the planet in the ascendant and respective season. So if Mars or Sun are in the ascendant, the season would be Grishma. And the Grishma season refers to Jeshtha and Ashada month of Indian calendar, and it corresponds to Taurus and Gemini sun. The months according to the sun sign are May 16 to July 15. If the Saturn is in the ascendant, then it refers to Shishir season. The months are Magh and Falgun. The sun signs are Capricorn and Aquarius, and months are Jan 16 to March 15. The Venus in the ascendant indicates Vasanta season. The months are Chaitra and Vaishakh. The sun signs are Pisces and Aries, and the months are, according to the sun signs, the months would be March 16 to May 15. If moon is in the ascendant, it refers to Varsha season. The months are Shravana and Bhadrapad. The sun signs are Cancer and Leo, and the Equivalent of these two sun signs are July 16 to September 15. So accordingly, you can study and understand this particular table and apply it. Now there are certain special cases that needs to be handled as well. The first special case is, what if the ascendant is vacant? So the commentator says that if the ascendant is vacant, then the lord of the Dreshkana of the ascendant shall be considered. Lord of the Dreshkana of the ascendant shall be considered. And what if there are more than one planet or many planets in the ascendant? Then the strongest of those shall be chosen or selected to identify the season. So these are the two special cases. One is the ascendant is vacant, and the second is there are multiple planets in the ascendant. One interesting thing that is mentioned by Varahamihira in this stanza is the season will be according to the sun sign. It means we shall not go for the Indian seasons according to the Indian calendar. It shall be according to the sun sign. However, this poses another challenge, because when we get to know the tithi of the native rather than the date, how do we fit in the tithi into the sun sign is an interesting way to look at it. So that part is important. However, let's see what Varahamihira has to say about the tithi. That will come in coming stanzas. In this particular stanza, he is referring to the season. So he says the season shall be according to the sun sign. There is another very interesting thing that we may find, or it may occur, that the season doesn't match the ayana. Means the season, suppose a particular season that we find out here is in Uttarayana, but the ascendant suggests Dakshinayana, then the what shall we do? How do we handle this particular situation? That is explained by Varahamihira in the next stanza. So see you next time to learn more about the mismatch between the ayana and the season. Till then, namaskar.